Hi, I'm Danny Chelius, Annual Meeting Program Coordinator for the American Academy of Otolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery. Welcome to our Annual Meeting Preview webinar. I'm thankful that you're taking time to listen in with us and hear about what's coming up at the 2024 Annual Meeting and OTO Experience in Miami Beach, Florida, in late September 2024. It's going to be a spectacular reunion of our entire community, our entire global community in Florida. We had the biggest ever turnout in our call for science with over 2,500 submissions this year, and we're already seeing registration blossoming, so that we're expecting a really big turnout this fall in Miami Beach. So if you haven't had a chance to register yet, watch this webinar, get excited about the meeting, come register, and join us in Miami Beach. I'm excited this evening to have gathered together a group of some of the leaders in the American Academy of Otolaryngology Head and Neck Surgery, each of whom represents and leads a different, smaller community within our larger organization. The longer you stick around in the Academy, the longer you volunteer and apply your efforts in the Academy, the more you'll realize that the Academy is not some nebulous thing. It's the people working next to you towards a common goal, and a lot of our communities share the same common goals. So I'm grateful tonight to have some of our community leaders with us. I'm going to ask you each, please introduce yourself, tell us where you practice, what your roles are in the Academy, and what communities you most identify with in the Academy to talk about tonight. I'm going to start first with Dr. Lisa Shnayder. Lisa.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for including me, Danny. My name is Lisa Shnayder. I am a head and neck surgeon at the University of Kansas. I am a chair of Women in Otolaryngology Section, as well as the head and neck oncology subgroup leader for the Annual Meeting Program Committee. I will be mostly talking about Women in Otolaryngology Section tonight.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Next, David Melon.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dave Melon. I am a practicing otolaryngologist in Hickory, North Carolina, where I'm the managing partner of Carolina Ear, Nose, and Throat Head and Neck Surgery Center, or private ENT practice where I've practiced for the last 12 years. I currently serve as the inaugural chair of the Otolaryngology Private Practice Section, affectionately referred to as the OPPS, the newest section of the Academy. So I'll be bringing some perspective from the private practice experience.
Thanks so much, Dave. Next, Dr. Goyal.
Morning all. From India, I'm Dr. Amit Goyal, Head of Department, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Jodhpur, India. I'm heading the department since last almost 8 years, and I am associated with the Academy. Almost 8 years I'm associated with it, and I am representing the international community. So I'll be presenting my views on that and invite you all to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And although it looks like we are all in the bright daylight of Miami Beach, Dr. Goyal is joining us in the opposite part of the day, bright and early in the morning from India. And so thank you for being with us. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Christina Dorismond.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Christina Dorismond. I'm a third-year resident at Vanderbilt. I'm here to kind of represent the residents, and my role in the Academy is I serve on the Annual Meeting Planning Committee as a resident representative, as well as on the Governance and Society Engagement Committee.
Thank you so much, Christina. And I think Dr. Dorismond's involvement with the Annual Meeting Program Committee is a real testament to how important your voices are in the Academy at every phase of your career, because there are things that you realize about our meeting as a resident that we don't realize once we're out of residency, and having her voice on the committee has given us a lot of insight. Next, I'm excited to introduce Dr. Hannah Kuhar.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. My name is Hannah Kuhar. I'm a chief resident at Ohio State. Next year, I'll be joining Lieberman and Parikh Aesthetics there in Palo Alto, California for Facial Plastics Fellowship. I'll be representing the voice of the residents and fellows today. I'm the current chair of the section for residents and fellows.
Thanks so much, Hannah. Next, Dr. Michele Carr.
Hello, hi. I'm Michele Carr. I'm a pediatric otolaryngologist in Buffalo, New York. I'm a professor at the University of Buffalo as well. My role in the Academy is I'm a member of the Annual Meeting Committee and the Membership Committee, and I'm going to be representing the medical student group today.
Thank you, Dr. Carr. I have to say, never seen quite as effective of a mentor for so many medical students at our annual meeting, as I've seen in the last few years with all of your mentorship for the medical students. So thank you for being with us tonight. And last, let me introduce the chair-elect of your section for young physicians.
Hi, I'm James Wang, Chair-elect for Young Physician Section. I'm an assistant professor at the Northwestern University Division of Facial Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery, the Department of Otolaryngology, and excited to move forward and talk to you all about exciting events for the year.
Well, thank you all so much for being with us for this webinar this evening and for giving up your time here to the Academy. I'd like to ask you, and I'd like to start by asking you to reflect on an event that is particularly memorable to you in your Academy experience, one that keeps you coming back to the meeting year after year. Dr. Shnayder, let me start with you.
I think I always am awaiting to join the opening ceremony because it's just such a wonderful start of the meeting. There is so much energy in the room, and everybody usually attends the opening ceremony, so you can see all the colleagues that you've missed for a year. Another wonderful event, and we'll talk about it later, is the Women in Otolaryngology Assembly, and we always have a very interesting speaker. Last year we had a songwriter, a female songwriter, so that certainly was a unique experience listening to her.
I have to say, she was incredibly inspiring for me personally as well, listening to her speak, and I can't wait to see what you guys have at the Women in OTO Assembly this year. Dr. Melon, how about you? What's a memorable event for you at the Academy?
You know, it's interesting because the program offers so many opportunities for everybody, but some of my most memorable ones were the ones that were actually unscripted. So last year, one of the more memorable things that I attended was a relatively impromptu roundtable discussion. The Otolaryngology Private Practice Section had sponsored coffee talks, and these were really sort of impromptu discussions that ranged from a wide variety of topics on different compensation models and ambulatory surgical management, optimizing allergy and audiology. And I think what I enjoyed about it most and what was most memorable is that there was a real palpable energy. There was a lot of attendees from very diverse backgrounds, open exchange of ideas, sharing their experiences, how they could use these initiatives and how they could bring them back and really have them actionable and integrated into their practices. And so for me, it really underscored that the real value of attending the annual meeting is that it's just a hub for learning, networking, fostering a sense of community, and it was really sort of a collective inspiration. And so those are the things that I look forward to, the things that I don't know are going to occur.
Thank you much, Dave. I can really relate to that. Those moments that you're unexpecting are the things that can really stick with you in a lot of ways. Dr. Goyal, you've mentioned that you've been coming to the Academy for over 8 years now. How about you? What's a memorable moment for you that keeps you coming back to the Academy meeting?
Yeah, the most memorable moment for me was at Philadelphia when I attended the ENTpreneur face-off competition. And I was amazed to see that. I was also, one of my invention was selected for it. And I attended such a competition for the first time, happening in any meeting actually. And I was amazed to see that. The most important thing, which actually, dent a deep impression on me was the democratic way of selecting the things. Means they had sent all the inventions to all the applicants, and after a thorough peer review, they had selected it. So it was not something which you can see that, okay, it was something biased or something. And there were so many industry people to connect with, so many opportunities, so it was totally out of our routine clinical practice scenario. And I really enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is something I also really appreciate about our meeting, is that it is, for the most part, a meeting that bubbles up from the attendees, that the educational content, that all the submissions come from the attendees. It's not a completely invited meeting. It really reflects the active conversations going on in smaller communities in our field. And we as the program committee have a chance to select from those conversations that are organically happening amongst our community already. And I really appreciate that. Dr. Dorismond, let me go to you. What's a particularly memorable moment of your Academy experience?
Yeah, I think one of my most memorable experiences was at my first Academy meeting, which is the one in New Orleans, when I got to attend the Harry Barnes Society meeting. Um, that was just super inspirational, especially as a rising, like as a medical student hoping to go into ENT. Got to be in a room full of Black otolaryngologists and got to meet residents who were in a position that I was hoping to be in very soon, as well as attendings. And that was really such a fun experience. And every year I look forward to that meeting. There's a big emphasis on medical student mentorship during those meetings too. So now as a resident, I get to talk to medical students and provide advice. That meeting or the academy tends to fall right around when residency applications are due. And so it's always fun to talk to applicants during that time and give them some last minute advice and whatnot. And then we also get to talk to attendings, or I get to talk to attendings at that meeting and, you know, talk to them about my next steps and things like that. And so that's one of my favorite parts of Academy every year.
I think it's impossible to overstate how important those small moments of mentorship are for all of us. Initially as the students coming to the meeting, but now you're having a chance to give back and mentor yourself for students who are coming along, even as a resident. And I think that that opportunity cannot be overstated how important it is at our academy meeting. And it requires all of us showing up and being ready to offer mentorship and encouragement to the younger students coming along. Dr. Kuhar, I know it hasn't been long since you were a student and now are a chief resident. In your academy meeting experience, tell us about something particularly memorable.
Sure. The most memorable moments for me every year at Academy are really the coming together of communities. So whether that's from medical school, from residency, fellows who were at your residency program and now have graduated, and bringing all those different groups of people together. I think most memorable was probably in Los Angeles at the annual meeting, where actually my mom, who's a comprehensive otolaryngologist in Albany, New York, was able to join along in all of that kind of bridging of communities. And so it really felt like a dream come true, full circle, ability to just share all these different connections and build new ones, and everything from the Women Otolaryngology reception to all the different kind of med student networking events, to be able to share that with her and with all these different groups is just really amazing. So
Thank you very much. And I don't normally get to take time to do this, but I think we should all say hi to your mom. So hi, Hannah's mom. She's doing a great job. Dr. Carr, tell us about your memorable academy experience.
Well, I've been coming to the academy for more than 20 years. There's a lot of things that kind of come together, but there are two things that stand out for memorable events. One was a dinner, which I was a fellow, so that was a long time ago. And my mentor, my fellowship mentor, brought me to a dinner with three other women in pediatric otolaryngology who were icons in their fields. And I still remember some of the things they talked about. And then it came kind of full circle because about 2 years ago, I worked with two other iconic physicians to start the mentorship program for American Academy. And we had a dinner with our mentees, the three of us and our mentees. And that's one of the things that was most enjoyable for that meeting. One of the people at that dinner is one of our residents now, and another one worked on a big project with me to come up with the otolaryngology question bank.
Thank you very much, Dr. Carr. And lastly, I'm going to come to you, Dr. Wang. Tell me, you've been coming to the meetings for a number of years. Most memorable experience that keeps you coming back.
Thank you so much. So I would say, I've been a member since actually my second year of medical school. So it's been quite a bit of time for me. And I had a mentor, Dr. Michael Cunningham at Boston Children's Hospital at the time. He was program director at Mass Eye and Ear. And it was my first meeting, and I was presenting an oral presentation and in front of hundreds of people as a medical student. You're just, being prepared is challenging, and people ask you questions. And even within that environment, being able to be out there and have the support, the mentor mentee, as we've talked about tonight already, is extremely important for the growth as an academic or private practice person. And so from that experience, I continued to obviously present throughout my residency years and have developed obviously the faculty member and are currently, mentoring medical students, residents who are now presenting at the academy meetings. And I'm very proud that we have two oral presentations coming up that are Miami meeting coming up in the fall. So again, the most memorable for me is just being able to go up there, present, and be able to field questions as a second-year medical school student, be able to meet people and of all different walks of different, eras of training, and then to be where I am today. I would be, I'm shaped through the academy and obviously through my mentors.
Thank you very much. Let me stay with you for a second, Dr. Wang. You are now the chair-elect of the Section for Young Physicians, the YPS. Can you speak to members of the YPS? What are the critical events they need to be attentive to? What's the YPS doing at the annual meeting this year that you need your membership to know about?
Absolutely. So I think important to know is like in your first years of practice, there are people out there, whether it be in private practice or in academics, that have some, advice and, be able to guide you in regards to, billing and coding, starting in practice, the do's and don'ts, how to negotiate contracts and whatnot. So these are things that you don't think about when you're initially in training. So as you're finishing up within your first few years of practice, I've had colleagues who within the first 2 to 3 years have changed jobs already. How do you go about that? What do you do? How do you prepare yourself? And importantly is to have a network of people you can talk to and just, share your experiences with, not only about practice, just a bit, complex cases and whatnot. And I think that the YPS has that as a community. And I would encourage everybody who's a new grad to join us. We also have, again, grants available for, within your first 5 years outside of residency to apply for, to come to the academy meeting and be a part of it. And I know that, funds and during a residency, it's paid for and whatnot, but this is an opportunity for you to, again, keep up to date with what's going on and also be involved with the academy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wang. Dr. Shnayder, the Women in Otolaryngology section always has a prominent presence at the annual meeting with so much of our membership attending the Women in Otos General Assembly. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have cooking for this year and what other events you think are important for WIO members to know about at the annual meeting?
Thank you, Danny. There are multiple events that are available, obviously, to women as well as men in otolaryngology. And everyone is invited to our General Assembly. Usually about 600 to 700 people attend, men and women. It's a business meeting followed by a featured speaker. I am not at liberty to say who the speaker is for this year, but it's going to be a wonderful executive leader, a non-physician, because the theme of my chairmanship this year is executive leadership for women. That event will take place on Saturday from 10:30 to 12 o'clock. This is a WIO General Assembly in the Grand Ballroom C, and again, everyone is invited. This will be immediately followed by a WIO networking lunch in the expo section in the exhibit hall, and this will be an opportunity for women as well as men to sit at tables and network and discuss issues pertinent to career advancement and work-life balance and other issues. All women in otolaryngology are invited to attend our committee sessions as guests. So please look at the program. There is a research and survey committee. There is an endowment committee. There is a leadership development and mentorship committee. And please, even if you're not a member, attend as a guest and see if this is something that piques your interest and you would like to apply. There will be an informal off-campus or off-convention center networking evening event, and this will take place on Monday from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and there will be separate registration open for this event. Real quickly, we have 5 panels accepted and supported by women in otolaryngology, various committees within the section, and please look at the program and see if you would like to attend, and the topics are ranging from investigating the gender wage gap in otolaryngology, the psychological safety for surgeons, how to build trust, teamwork, and well-being, I have a panel on successful side hustle, how to balance the continued practice of medicine with some entrepreneurship. And there is a panel on recognizing the role of advocates in career advancement. So again, women as well as men are invited. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And I just want to thank the Women in OTO section for teaching me so much about how to best support my women colleagues as we seek to create a greater place of equity in our field. I've learned so much from the Women in OTO General Assemblies and all of the programming sponsored by WIO over the years, and I'm terribly grateful to the many mentors and friends who have taught me there. Dave, the private practice, originally study group, and now the OPPS has been a force of nature in the past several years as it's come to fruition and has had some excellent programming over the past few years. Preview for us. What does the private practice section have planned for this fall in Miami?
Yeah, thanks, Danny. So yeah, the OPPS was officially breathed into existence in Nashville last year. So we're excited to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary as a section. One of the things that is important to all otolaryngologists, but certainly top of mind for a number of private practitioners, is the business of medicine and practice management. We're putting together additional panels on how to retain and attract employees. And these are just some of the highlights of the nearly 40 sessions that are a part of the program that highlight business of medicine and practice management topics. The OPPS General Assembly will be held on Sunday, September 29th at 1 p.m. And that's always a great rallying point for peers to meet up with each other and network. And I think networking is another big piece of what a lot of private practitioners look forward to at the meeting. This is the annual family reunion of sorts. And so this is a great place to meet up with your colleagues, and there'll be some information to follow on some OPPS specific social events. I think one of the things that's really unique opportunity that the annual meeting affords is some of the hands-on workshops. Sometimes it's really challenging in private practice to hone your skill set and advance in sort of new ways. And so there's some hands-on workshops that aren't OPPS specific, but would be of keen interest for private practitioners. One experience I had last year was actually the oral appliance interactive session. And that was a really impactful thing for me because I recognized that there were gaps in care in our management of sleep medicine and sleep-related complaints in our practice. So I think seeking out those types of opportunities and embracing them, and especially those hands-on workshops, are going to be of significant value to OPPS members.
Dave, thank you so much. We're going to have about 25 hands-on simulation courses this year at the annual meeting, and I'm very grateful for all the hard work going into operationalizing those simulation courses right now, and they are very popular. And that course you mentioned in particular has been popular for a long time, so we're looking forward to seeing those come on this year. In response to so many of our practitioners, we're all running busy practices. We want to make sure that you know that we have heard you, and that the meeting is shifting this year. Instead of running from its normal Sunday to Wednesday, it'll be Saturday to Tuesday this year. So it's the same length meeting, but it is shifting a day earlier, which will hopefully get us all back into our practices a little bit sooner and get us back to our patients more quickly than normal. So that shift is happening this year to Saturday to Tuesday. Dr. Goyal, you are representing our international community tonight on this webinar, and I'm curious to know, have you had a chance to see what's coming up for international members this fall in Miami, and what are you excited about?
Yeah, so I'm excited about Miami itself quite a lot, and all the international attendees would probably be really looking forward to it. So international community means as an international attendee, there are a lot of opportunities, and this year also there will be a lot of educational and networking opportunities available at the meeting. And there are certain sessions which give you a global perspectives to the same concepts which you have been practicing in your area. But when you take all those practices to the global canvas, their perspectives and their probably meaning, they differ quite a lot. And that those kind of discussions and exposures are possible only at a meeting of this kind. And apart from that, there will be, networking opportunities, especially the lounge area I love the most, where you actually happen to have one-to-one conversation with the who is who in the field, and you get to know them also and their personal, it's a personal space sort of thing, not rather just that's one thing which I love a lot. And Auto Expo is always quite close to my heart, and because it brings the latest technology. So whoever are coming from all over the world, they happen to see what's there in Kitty for the future also and for the present also, which might not be available in their own areas. So these few things, I think, as an international attendee, they are there in the Kitty this year also. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. We are actually also excited about this year on Monday. We're going to have a bit of an international day at the annual meeting. Specifically, the International Advisory Board will have a general assembly for international members on Monday afternoon, followed by the International General Session Monday afternoon. And so Monday in particular will be a great day at the annual meeting. The Myers International Lecture will be Monday morning, following the Humanitarian Efforts Forum that highlights much of the work that both our domestic and international attendees are doing in underserved areas of the world. So we're very excited about the international offerings this year. I will say, given that we're going to be in Miami, we are hoping that we have an excellent turnout from South and Central America, in particular our Spanish-speaking colleagues. Pensamos que sería muchas oportunidades para educación en español durante la reunión en Miami. Serían cursos todo el día sábado, cada hora sería cursos en español para nuestros miembros quien preferían cursos en español. Tenemos muchos representados de otras partes del mundo donde hablan español y probablemente todos van a hablar mejor de yo. So, por favor, viene con nosotros a Miami Beach, donde sería muchas oportunidades en español para todos nuestros miembros de otro país. So, Dr. Carr, you have become a bit of an expert in helping medical students navigate this meeting and mentoring them there. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the medical student opportunities and things not to miss this fall at the annual meeting?
Yes, so medical students, there is a medical student track. So far that it's going to include the mentorship event. That's the third year that's happened. So medical students will sit at tables or meet with attendings, usually academic people. You can ask your questions and figure out how you're going to get from being a medical student to a matched applicant. The other thing I'm going to talk about is the airway simulation. So that's a thing that I'm heading up. We have a group of, I think, 8 different participants now, all from universities across the country. The simulation is just airway emergencies. You get to do a trach, you get to do a crike, pass this flexible scope, and deal with trach emergencies. There is a pre-session prep that students have to do. They'll get an email from the academy and the link in that. And that was a lot of fun last year. We do have a group me as part of that, which is helpful because we use that for the whole meeting to tell people just things you might not know about events that students might be particularly interested in. Next thing is not really an official event. Dr. Eisenberg, who is one of the icons of the Academy, and we work together to develop the mentorship program. He is going to be running a coffee break for medical students and come and meet some of the mentors and network among yourselves as well. We want to make sure students know that they can sit in on a committee meeting, see what happens in the committees. You'll see those in the program. And the last thing I want to make sure students know about is the OTO EXPO. There's lots of things to do in the OTO EXPO. There's activities, there's things to see, there's videos, there's all kinds of interesting things that they can participate in. I think that's a good thing for them to go through.
Well, that is a lot, and it really is a testament to all of the Academy members who are so actively engaged, like yourself, in mentoring medical students and preparing this content for them. We are going to work to record some of these medical student events to make them available to those who are unable to join us in Miami. But boy, we hope you can be there. It's going to be an excellent event. And once you're no longer a medical student and you're a resident, you'll find your home in the section for residents and fellows. Dr. Kuhar, tell us, what can SRF members look forward to in Miami this fall? What's going on in the SRF at the annual meeting?
Sure. Thank you. So for the residents and fellows, there are so many opportunities at the annual meeting to network, to learn at whatever stage you are at in residency or in fellowship. I encourage everyone to check out the amazing education sessions and simulation sessions. A lot of this you can register for ahead of time. In addition, different sessions, even like a medical student mentorship luncheon, et cetera, is a great opportunity for gaining those mentees and kind of building those skills and those relationships. There are multiple Section for Resident and Fellow sponsored panels I encourage everyone to attend. And then absolutely please attend the Section for Resident and Fellows General Assembly, which is parallel to the Young Physicians section. And during this, you can learn about all sorts of different grants, awards, honors, as well as surveys and various leadership opportunities that the Section for Resident and Fellows is doing for residents and fellows. So important to learn about that. And then immediately to follow that, there'll be a huge reception joint with the Young Physicians section. So this is a great networking opportunity and just chance to really get more involved.
Thank you, Dr. Kuhar. Dr. Dorismond, let me ask you, what advice would you give a resident attending for the annual meeting the first time about how to get the most out of the meeting?
Absolutely. So some advice I would give is that plan ahead. There is so much that happens at the Academy meeting, and I think the best way to tackle that is by thinking, ahead the night before. So something that I typically do, I'll take 10, 15 minutes the night before, and I'll go through the program for the following day. I'll favorite the things that I'm somewhat interested in or think I might want to go to, even if there's going to be time conflicts. But it kind of narrows down the list a little bit, so that the day of, you can go to your calendar and you have all these options, and then you can decide, okay, well, at this particular time, I'm going to go to this session, and at this time, I'm going to go to this session. And I found that for me, that really helps me kind of tackle all the events that I want to go to. But I think the big thing to just remember is that you can't go wrong. There are so many phenomenal sessions at Academy. I know from being on the planning committee side of things that a lot of time and thought is put into picking the educational sessions and the panels. And I know that people spend a lot of time, organizing the general assemblies and other meetings that go on during the Academy. And so it just, anything that you're choosing is going to be educational. It's going to be a good networking opportunity. It's just going to be so beneficial to you. So long as you go to meetings, go to sessions, you're going to get a ton out of those, out of the meeting. And so just make sure you take some time to pick some sessions to go to.
Thank you very much. And I want to emphasize something you said, which is that there is too much for any of us to get to everything. And some of the best advice I've ever gotten about the annual meeting is to take advantage of the annual meeting recordings that are free as part of your registration for the annual meeting. You will have 350 plus hours of educational content available to you on Otologic as part of your meeting registration. It's free. You've already paid for it in your registration. And so don't worry about missing some of the educational content when you're live in Miami Beach. You can still go watch it later and get access to those experts and to hear what they had to say. Dr. Shnayder, let me come to you. What advice would you give a first-time attendee, particularly a member from the Women in OTO section?
So the advice that I would give to women otolaryngologists, and by definition, every woman otolaryngologist is a member of the WEO section, and many men are honorary members, as you know, and the WEO assembly is early in the meeting. It's Saturday morning. So pay attention during a business meeting if you do have an interest on getting involved in various committees as you are listening to the reports. Again, as I alluded to earlier, the committee meetings are going to be later after the assembly. So please come as a guest and see if this is something that piques your interest and you would be interested in applying later. Putting my annual meeting program committee hat for a moment, I wanted to say that Dr. Chelius and Dr. Damask introduced the new concept of office hours a few years back, and this is really the opportunity for a smaller room discussion and for access to our expert speakers. And many of the attendees have expressed the interest in really having access to the experts in a smaller group, kind of like the office hours or coffee with Stump the Expert, if you will. And this will be case-based and question-based, and this is your opportunity to ask the burning question. One last advice, this is something that I adopted since I've been a resident. I always try to attend a session which is completely out of my subspecialty, completely out of my comfort zone. So I'm a head and neck surgeon. I make a point to attend at least one session on either comprehensive otolaryngology or pediatric otolaryngology, just to understand what's new and what's going on in the field. And that's all. Thank you.
That is very cool advice. And the first time I've heard someone say that explicitly, to attend something very much outside of your field, that is a really, really great idea. And I am stealing it for this fall in Miami Beach. So thank you. The sections are your homes. It's where the academy comes down to size, and everyone should try to make it to their section general assembly at the annual meeting. We all belong to a section one way or another, whether it's the OPPS for our private practice or employed colleagues, whether it's women in otolaryngology, the section for residents and fellows, the young physician section, or the board of governors. If you are someone who is attending the meeting, there's a section for you, and that's where you can bring the academy down to a smaller size and find out how your volunteer efforts can best get employed and best get used at the academy. So please come to the sections, introduce yourself to the leaders there, and get engaged. Speaking of the OPPS, Dave, what would you tell a first-time attendee to get the most out of the annual meeting?
Bring your sunscreen. No, I mean, you got to be prepared, right? So you got to have sunscreen because Miami is known for its sun, but you have to be prepared. You're not going to get as much out of the meeting if you don't have a plan. And so the website is fantastic. There are so many resources that you can use on the website to go through and scroll through the meeting and plan accordingly by any number of different filters. So you have to be prepared. You have to come in with a plan of attack. And I think that may even require that for some of us in private practice that maybe some of these things where, our memories aren't as fresh on them, maybe you have to pre-read and educate and kind of get back up to speed on some concepts. And then I think the next thing is you can't be reluctant to participate. You have to engage. You can be a passive participant, but you won't get as much out of it if you're not active in the session. So you should not be fearful of participating in discussion and being open with everybody there who are ultimately your peers. And then I think ultimately one thing that's really important that we should be mindful of is while the meeting is great, it's always good to have something that you can take home with you and implement. What are you going to be doing different? How are you going to incorporate key learnings or strategies or best practices into your day-to-day that's going to enhance patient care? So be prepared, engage, and then ultimately act.
That is really great advice, to be an active participant in this meeting. I didn't share earlier, but one of my most memorable academy experiences was going up to a presenter after a talk on chronic cough and chatting with about a particularly difficult patient in my practice in Houston. And that presenter helped me change this patient's life and help her get over it in a very concrete way that I will always be grateful for to that experience at the annual meeting. But I had to get out of my chair and go up and engage. And that all of our presenters are open to that and expecting it and honored when they get a chance to talk about it. So engage, engage, engage. That is really wonderful advice, Dave. Thank you. Amit, can you give us some advice? A first-time international attendee, what advice would you give them about the annual meeting in Miami Beach?
Yeah, so if you are attending for the first time as an international attendee, I think the most important advice is to pre-plan the sessions, because don't try to grab it all. It's really a bunch of academic sessions, and just plan your according to your own need and your own interest and specific sessions you attend. Don't try to jump here and there, sometime here, sometime there. That won't work actually. Have so many visiting cards with you, business cards, so that you can make friends and you can interact with, and register for all the simulation sessions. They are really great, especially for an international attendee. Some of the stuff you might not get hands-on in your own area. So that's very important. And Monday, it's specifically sessions for international attendees, and do attend them and get some extra days for to roam around Miami. So that's that's the last but the most important advice, I believe. Thank you.
That's really great advice. Miami is going to be a great city and a great place to just experience outside the halls of the meeting too. So we definitely want to make sure everyone gets to experience that. Wonderful advice. Thank you. James, young physician, first-time attendee. Don't know how it happened that they got to be a first-time attendee after residency, but what are you going to tell them? How are you going to advise them? What's a key piece of advice to make their annual meeting experience successful?
Obviously, going to echo Dr. Melon here. You got to make sure you bring your SPF 50 and above. Protect from UVA, UVB first of all. But as a first-time attendee, it's new. It is a large meeting. I definitely encourage everybody to take the time to look and use the app efficiently to kind of look at what specific things are relevant to your practice. As a facial plastic surgeon, maybe I want to look at some Mohs reconstruction. I want to look at some preservation rhinoplasty. At the end of the day, you can't make it to all the sessions, and like Dr. Chelius said, there are going to be recordings of certain sessions, but the ones that you do want to be at to ask questions and not be afraid to go up to the microphone and ask those questions. Like, we are all colleagues, and what you're going to realize is at the end of the day, it truly is a small world. I get referrals all over the nation, and I have calls from colleagues who are like, "Who do I send for my pediatric otolaryngologist in Houston?" And there you go. That's who I go to. That kind of situation, Dr. Chelius. Again, it's a small world, and I think that you just need to realize and recognize that no matter what specialty you're in, you're a phone call away, and not be afraid to reach out, especially as a first-time attendee.
Excellent advice. Thank you so much. Dr. Carr, what's the most important piece of advice for our medical students coming to this meeting for the first time in Miami Beach?
I would agree with everything that's been said for the medical students, but there's some things that are specific for students. First of all, it's the money. Make sure that you apply, if you're a medical student coming, for the AAO travel grant. There is a travel grant. Write your essay carefully. Also, talk to your department. If you're making a presentation, talk to your department and see if they will contribute to your trip. Ask your medical school. Is there an alumni association? Is there someone who can contribute? Because the costs can add up, just the registration and the flight, let alone where you're going to stay. The other thing I just want to mention is buddying up, having a friend. If you know someone who's coming, connect with them. If you know people in your department are coming, a lot of medical students are coming from places without a department. So if you're in that category, try and find someone who's going. Join the group me when you sign up for our sim course, because everyone will sign up for the sim course, and find someone to connect with there. If you do have a home department, find out if they're having social events that you will be welcome at. If you're planning an away rotation and that's after the meeting, get a hold of that program director and see if you can meet them during the meeting, or if they also have social events that they would like you to come to. I think those are some specific things for medical students who are first-time attendees.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carr. Registration is open right now. Housing registration is also open right now. We do have a range of hotels at various different price points, but the earlier you get on and register, the earlier you book your housing, the more options you'll have. And we do have a really wonderful, wide variety of hotels this year. Miami Beach is an interesting place. And so hopefully everyone will find something that meets their fancy on Miami Beach. Dr. Kuhar, best advice for a resident first-time attendee?
Sure. My advice for a resident first-time attendee is absolutely to plan ahead. I think taking a look at the schedule at a glance as it's published even now, but looking at specific events, thinking about research interests you have, potential fellowship interests you might have, looking at who's speaking where and when. Those are just great opportunities to listen to what these various individuals are up to in terms of research and potentially make connections. I think you can just really optimize and make the most of your time by just making sure you see which sessions to go to when and where. And then, of course, the online recordings are wonderful. So if you have to make that choice, that you feel like comfortable that you will be able to watch those later. But I think between that and then seeing what events like your residency or medical school have or what fellowships might be offering is just important to know and to work your schedule around.
So again, with the SRF, they also have a travel grant, which I got as a resident. So that's always something nice to, again, apply to if you have an oral presentation. There's also the humanitarian travel grant, which I was fortunate to have the opportunity to go to Uganda. And again, there are a lot of opportunities and with the YPS as well to apply for travel grants to get to these meetings to subsidize your costs.
Well, I am so grateful to all of our attendees tonight for sharing with us their thoughts about the annual meeting. You know, these folks are leaders in the academy who got to being leaders by showing up and volunteering and being part of the community. And I don't think there's anywhere that our community is on better display than every year at the annual meeting. It's where we leverage the power of our experience through discourse to drive the field forward, to make our communities better for our patients and for each other. And that's what the annual meeting is all about. So please join us in Miami Beach. Come to the committee meetings, come to the section meetings, go up to the podium, ask questions in the scientific sessions, come to the coffee talks, come to every one of these events and participate and get engaged. We can't wait to have you joining us there. Registration's open now. The program is open now on the website. So go check it out and join us in Miami Beach. I'm going to come around for a final thought from each of our panelists tonight. First, Dr. Shnayder.
Thank you so much, Danny. I think it's a great webinar and hopefully all the attendees will find it useful. Wanted to repeat again, it was said before, but wanted to draw everybody's attention that all the recordings are available for full registrants for entire 3 years. So you can listen to each and every one of the recordings, listen in the car, listen by working out, listen while doing dishes. 3 years you have access to these sessions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Dave.
You know, ultimately the meeting is about the people who show up. I mean, that's the bottom line. This is the greatest assembly of a global community in a single location. So you are the meeting, and so if you're not showing up to the meeting, you're missing out, and everyone else is too. So you can't be there unless you're there. So show up. And one thing that I would say is one of the most impactful things that I had was I just sat down at an empty table at lunch at the expo, the Open Expo, just sat down there. So if you see an empty seat, sit next to somebody and start a conversation, because you are the meeting, and by being present and being present with the people around you, you'll get the most out of it.
Thank you so much, Dave. Amit.
Yeah, so this meeting is really a great opportunity for an international attendee, and make the most out of it for yourself. And pre-plan in advance, because I remember the first time I attended and I was totally lost. So just plan it in advance and make the most out of it, and you'll have so many new perspectives, new friends, and you'll really enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Christina.
Yeah, so one last thought I had is, a lot of us has touched on pre-planning, which I agree is totally important, and you want to go to those sessions. But as Dr. Melon hinted to, sometimes those conversations that you have with people, even if you're not at a session, you might be having a conversation with a colleague of yours that you haven't seen in 20 years because you're in academics and they're private practice. Like, those conversations can be extremely meaningful, and that's what makes the Academy so special, is you have people from all over the country, all over the world, all in one place, and you get to have such important conversations with them, even without being in a particular session. So take advantage of those opportunities, and then if you miss something, go to the recordings. And like we said, you have access to them for 3 years. So you can always go back and listen to them. But those conversations might be a little bit more difficult to have on the back end.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dorismond. Michele.
Since most students are first-time attendees, there's so much to tell them. The one thing I want to tell them is wear comfortable shoes. But there's something else too. You can't discount the value of meeting other students. So I didn't come tonight unprepared. I emailed all the students and I said, what should I tell people? What do they need to know? First-time attendee students. And one of them said to me, it's hard to meet people. Go to the poster session. When someone's standing by their poster by themselves, go up and offer to take their picture. You'll meet someone new. Either they're alone and now you have a buddy, or they have a big group and now you can meet their group. So go up to people and introduce yourself. And eat the free lunch. That's another good advice.
Yeah, again, don't be afraid. Everybody here is a family, and we are nationally and internationally connected in many, many ways, much closer than everybody thinks. And so whether you're interested in a way as a medical student, or if you're pre-med who just happens to be doing research in otolaryngology, there's a lot of research opportunities, a lot of clinical knowledge that can be gained from this meeting. So take the time to, like everyone's talked about tonight, to go to the poster sessions and not be afraid to come up the microphone and ask any questions, because there's no stupid question that can be asked. And we look forward to seeing everybody here in Miami.
Hannah, in your waning days of residency, you get the last thought tonight.
Okay, great. Well, this has been a fantastic discussion. I agree with all that's been said, but I think the biggest takeaways for me are just to show up and to get involved. This is an opportunity for us, especially as residents and fellows, to have a voice, and also to meet so many different people from various stages of their career and walks of life. And it's just unbelievable to have so many resources and opportunities just in one setting. And so take advantage of it all. And attend the section for residents and fellows General Assembly, because it truly is our opportunity to have that voice and learn about what the Academy is doing for you, can do for you, and what you can do for it. So,
well, to all of our panelists tonight, thank you. And thank you for everything you do that led you to being here tonight. And thank you for your time in sharing your thoughts about our annual meeting. Everyone, we'll see you in Miami Beach.